The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, the revelation of this concept was given to Rabbi Israel ben Avraham of Etz Chaim of Houston, Texas. And it was taught to me through one of my friends and his disciples named Avraham ben Yehuda. Now, this concept regarding the tree of the knowledge of good and evil has to deal with how did sin enter into man? And we'll get into that here very shortly. I just wanted to break down this art piece and to kind of help people memorize vocabulary words that will help them along the way in their journey to Hashem. So let's get the first part out of the way. Let's get all of the art stuff out of the way. In no way, shape, or form am I implying or insinuating that the original tree of the knowledge of good and evil was a bonsai tree. I just like them, and I painted this out, and I thought it would be fun. So the tree and the leaves and everything, yes, it is a painting. The fruit over here off to the side, I painted this, and the picture over here in the upper left-hand corner, this is a photograph of a Brazilian Jabuticaba tree. Now, why does this tree have all of these bumps and knobs all over it? Well, it's kind of a little reference to this Jabuticaba tree and the fruit that grows from it. So before we get into that, let's just break down all of these little vocabulary words, and we're going to start here in the bottom left-hand corner. So we have eretz. Now, there was two special cases in which this word is used. Case number one, which is what we would consider the first mention, would be Bereshis, or Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The earth in this statement is ha-eretz, the earth. This is the first special case. Second special case has to do with Genesis chapter 12, I believe it's verse 1, when Hashem is addressing Avraham when he says, "You will go to the land that I show you." When he says, "You will go to the land," it means ha-eretz. So we have this very divine connection between the created earth in the beginning of Genesis 1:1 and this wonderful special case where the divine creator, eternal ruler, is speaking to his friend Avraham to go to this same land. So there's a connection between the two uses of this word. And we'll get into that later on. So ha-adamah, which is loosely translated the dust of the earth. Now, this is a picture of the dust. Let's just zoom in here for a moment. I've just got these little splatters over here just to kind of imply that there's dust in the painting. All right. The dust of the earth is which Hashem fashioned us out of. It's very interesting that he took the topmost layer of the land itself and fashioned man out of it, and then gave him command over that same substance. What's really fun about this is, please note that the dust of the earth, or ha-adamah, is related to Adam, and we'll get into that a little later as well. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is Etz Da'at Tov V'Ra, and what this means is literally, Etz is tree, Da'at is knowledge, Tov is good, and V'Ra means and evil. This comes out of Genesis, or Bereshis 2:9. Now, up in the upper right-hand corner, we have Pri Chamad. Now, let's take a look at this fruit in the upper right-hand corner. Looks like a grape, and for all intents and purposes, it is a grape. In Hebrew, we would call this Pri Chamad. Pri Chamad. Now, this Pri, or Pri, is the fruit, and Chamad is desire. Now, I have to make mention that in Bereshis 2:9, that's the first mention of fruit, and then in 3:6 is the first mention of what type of fruit is from this tree, which is chamad, or desire. Now, if we split the grape open, we see this fluffy seed in here. Now, honestly, and I have to make sure that I say this, we don't know what the fruit looked like. I'm assuming it's a grape because of the Nazirite vow, and I'll explain how all of this connects a little later. But we know that when you eat grapes, you can actually eat the seeds. Oftentimes, when grape season comes, the seeds are soft enough that you can eat them. And in other times, in other types of grapes, the seeds are very hard and you can't eat them. Or you can, it's just a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to make the claim and agree with Rabbi. So I'm going to make the claim and agree with Rabbi Israel that chametz and leavening and sin all have to deal with the same thing. So I'm going to state that this seed is a type of chametz. Now, again, it doesn't say that, but this is how I'm understanding this lesson. Chametz is first used in Exodus chapter 12, verse 15, or Shemot 12:15. So how does this relate to the Nazirite vow, or the Nazir? And how come the word Nazir and Netzar sound so familiar? So what is a Netzar and what is a Nazir? A Netzar is a branch, and this has to do with a type of prophecy that most of you that are Christians and that have seen this prophecy come out of Matthew or Matthew 2:23, but the actual prophecy itself comes out of Yeshayahu or Isaiah 11:1. So this is a prophecy of a type of Messiah that will come out, and he will be a shoot or a branch that comes up. Specifically from the line of Jesse. We'll look into that in a little bit. But we have a Netzar, which is a branch or a prophecy of a branch. And then we have the Nazir, which is a vow. And as you can see in the Hebrew, Nazir and Netzar are spelled differently. Now, I believe in my heart that Yeshua was a Nazir. He is also the Netzar. He is also the prophesied branch that will come forth. Now, the Nazir is a vow, and the objective is to consecrate oneself by refraining from eating anything related to the grape, which means the grape skin, the grape fruit or the meat itself, and the seeds. And this comes out of Bamidbar, or Numbers, chapter 6, verse 2. That's the first mention of a Nazir. So let's get into the breakdown of each one of these, and I have a little introduction of how far this rabbit trail goes, because I think there's a lot here. And basically what we're doing is we are reverse engineering what transfiguration is and what effects happen to us when our ancestors partook of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.